So we're on the couch with the Galbreaths. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, what's up, hey?
Hey, George.
Hey, Shanequa Gay. Let me find out. You done came to sit on the couch with us.
Yeah.
Shanequa's
been on the couch before.
You done came and sat on the couch in front of the camera. That's pretty dope.
That is dope.
That means a lot. No, for real. This is amazing because when I think back to my infatuation, and I can say it now, with your work early on, now it might not be early on in your career, but it was early on in my experience of understanding the 2017? Okay. I'm looking at a piece right now, by the way, okay? And I'm sure we can pull that up later, but I was infatuated with this because this felt like it symbolized my Central Missouri, young Black boy, mama sending me out into the streets in my 16-year-old self with a license in a car, getting pulled over every other weekend, praying over me, worried about me, and teaching me how to interact and engage with the white entities, police, whoever. And this series symbolized that. And I'll mess up the name. Help me out, please.
Fair Game.
The Fair Game series. It spoke to me. It was my life. So can you tell us about that?
I feel like you just did. I feel like I don't even have to say nothing.
Well, I wasn't sure if I misinterpreted it.
I feel like you got it. You hit the nail on the head, old folks say. That's a really good interpretation of the word. I started the Fair Game series, kind of around maybe 2012, 2014, somewhere around there, under the Obama administration. So we had the prestigious opportunity as a nation to have an African-American president. But what I felt like came with that was the kind of penalty within Black communities, right? Where Black men were, like you said, being stopped, continuously in prison. We had Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, lists of names. And, within the Black community, we have what's called fictive kinship, right? So we reference each other as brother, as sister, right?
Yeah.
Cousin.
Now it's twin.
It's right now.
I did not understand where that came from, but I was it probably comes from there. So thank you.
Term of endearment. And so those young men look like my son. Those young men look like the men in my family. They didn't feel distant. And then, I developed a body of work from Dreamscape, right? I was constantly dreaming about these Black men who were kind of being chased, like they were shape-shifting into deer, into men, and they were being chased by police, being chased by themselves, because we really don't continually address what happens within our own communities, right? And so, you gave a beautiful description of what the work is about.
I want to cry a little bit. It just, you represented that moment and relationship and experience eloquently, boldly, and it was consistent. It was every piece from that series that I saw, even as you stylized and changed different components, it hit the heart. And
And I haven't heard that from you.
Yeah.
So when George was attracted to your work, I just knew that he liked your work. And to me, there was a darkness that I've told you about. And so you had a show and we missed it. And for his birthday, I was like, I'm gonna reach out to Shanequa and see if I can, get George a piece. And when I came to your studio, I fell in love with the work. When I met you, I fell in love with you and I fell in love with the work. I still didn't necessarily see it through his lens, but I saw it through your lens, and it meant something completely different to me. I didn't see the darkness. I just saw the telling of a story that I hadn't seen before. So it's interesting to me because sometimes we feel insulated in Atlanta, right? And Fahamu mentioned how like Blackness in Atlanta wasn't an imposition, right? Blackness is somehow different. But you still depicted this Fair Game series regardless, and you just spoke to the fact that it's not always about the police officers. Sometimes, it's other people, other civilians, so to speak. But being from Atlanta, how might this Fair Game series be different than if you had grown up in a central Missouri?
I don't know. Right? So I can only talk about my bubble, talk about the place from where I'm from. But I feel like, universal is narrow, it's not broad, right? So when you talk about universal experience, we all come from somewhere, we all experience something, right? And so I think George saying that he's from Missouri, and I'm from Atlanta, and yet he can relate to that. That's a language of a universal experience, right? And so I don't know how the work would change, because I don't know that the Fair Game series is specified to Atlanta per se, as much as it's specified to what I saw within the Black community. And so how it translates here may translate a bit differently if it were in India or Africa or an Asian state, but wherever you go, you see oppressed people, right? Andre 3000 has on one of his suits that says, "Across cultures, darker people suffer most." Like,
I have the long sleeve tee.
And like that's a universal language of oppression, and so I think from Atlanta to across the globe, we all can kind of relate to that in some way.
Speaking of across the globe, okay, so help me out with the countries or cities that you have now displayed in. Like, where is your work being seen?
That's really difficult.
Give me the most exotic. Feel free.
Thankfully difficult.
Okay.
I have done residencies in Johannesburg. I have done residencies in Iwakuni, Japan.
Okay.
I have shown in Canada. I have shown in Jamaica. I have shown most recently 2 years ago in Venice. And then a good bit across the Southeast.
I'm about to run out of fingers now, okay?
Right.
All right.
And I will be at the MFA Boston in May.
Okay.
So I'll stop there.
And I love that.
I'm really grateful to have a bit of trajectory for my body of work.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you pray, like, Jesus, I just want my work. I just want to share my work with the people. And I just want to be a content artist. And I want to be able to go to Whole Foods whenever I feel like it.
Oh, amen.
And so I have had some exceedingly abundantly experiences in my life, and I'm really grateful.
And that is beautiful that people from those different cultures and areas can see your work. Can you talk about how your message has been received in different cultures and different places a bit?
Yeah, great, for instance, I was just mentioning India. So like when I paint, I use a good bit of blue. And so culturally, that blue is a holy color, right? Some of their gods are painted blue, right? It's like, I'm painting blue guys.
They was offended, was they?
No,
Okay, good.
Okay. Meaning, like, I've gained collectors because of that attraction. And so, yeah, when going to Japan and just having people like adapt or be able to see something in my work and see themselves, it's like, really? So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be received. It was wonderful to have Daughters of the Metropolitan. I'm talking about my experience of growing up on Stewart Avenue in Venice. And people seeing themselves in that work. You don't know how people will adapt or fool themselves close. And so, I'm really grateful.
So you have been a lot of places and you show your work in a lot of spaces, but you stayed in Atlanta.
Wow.
Against many
Cheers.
people.
No, we are grateful to have you here, but why?
I love where I'm from. I genuinely love where I'm from. Like I'm a proud Georgian. And yeah, like I'm proud of my city. Like it's never a question mark when people who are, maybe in New York or California, nobody ever questions them for staying.
No.
Damn, you done said a word. Hold
Like
on.
nobody ever says you should leave in order to make it. You need to be outside of your range.
Because people always say that in Missouri. Why are you still here?
Why are you still here?
Damn.
Right?
And that wasn't my question.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
that was. I want to be clear,
yeah,
not because of what you said, but
yeah.
I want to. It's not why. Like, there's a reason, and we're grateful to still have you here.
Yes.
Not why. Why don't you leave? Like, I'm not saying that because that's not what I want.
I did not.
Yeah.
I'm not taking. I'm not taking it that way. I'm speaking from what has been constantly said to me as a working artist here in Atlanta is that in order for me to be able to make it, I have to leave my city. People love to put maybe their desires, be it goals or failures, right, regarding my career. And I'm like, man, God ain't never told me any of the stuff that you said.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
I feel like
So
that's
you ain't
why-
left because God ain't told you.
Yeah.
Not so much that as much as like I feel like my daily waking is to fulfill my purpose as a creative, right?
Yeah.
And so magically, it would seem, I have been able to fulfill my purpose as a creative here in Atlanta and still be able to cast my net elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I don't discredit that a making it would happen if I left or that I would be received more if I left. But I love all things Georgia. I love all things Southern. I love all things that are, a part of my family. Maybe some of it is not stepping outside of my comfort zone. I've been a lot of places, but I've just chosen not to leave where I am. And
Where'd you grow up here?
Riverdale.
Okay.
Riverdale. So at the time, Riverdale was the top school system in the nation, right?
Really?
It was also very white.
Wow.
Riverdale.
No,
I didn't know
that.
Riverdale was ever very white.
Most people don't. Most people don't.
uh-huh.
So my class pictures, probably up until high school, I was always one of one, right?
Yeah.
And so while we did have people who were from India in our neighborhood, our family was probably about the second or third Black family to move into our neighborhood. So we had the experience of our next door neighbors putting a for sale sign up when we moved in, had the experience of, first hearing expletives that were regarding my race, right? And that experience. So always feeling very much othered.
You had the Central Missouri Lexington experience. Okay.
No,
so
there's probably some reason why you're able to.
Well, it teaches, what, Anaje just talked about that, about being able to shift between cultural spaces, right? We'll say that in the most politically correct way. Because I had to learn that very early, right? And so...
I think that's some of what Benny was just speaking to between North Atlanta and Buckhead schools and
so
West End.
The thing where you're like, you growing up in the 80s, you're in all white spaces. So of course I love, the Breakfast Club, Metallica, Madonna, like I'm
Nirvana,
experiencing, right?
yeah,
Like just the whole
yeah.
experience of that. But then going to visit my cousins or spending the summers at my grandmama's house, I was taking Najee, I started the series called Practicing Blackness. Because I would literally practice my Atlanta diction in the mirror before I would go to see my cousins. Like I was practicing my does and tongue popping and like trying to make sure I was Black enough. Within Black spaces, and then performing whiteness
When you got back.
when I got back home. So it's that kind of oscillation of self the experience my son and I had when we went to South Africa was being perceived as white people.
Wow.
Because of our tongue. So over there, they thought we were Xhosa. So a lot of people tried to come and talk to us in Xhosa. And when we spoke, they were like, oh, y'all are white people.
Wow.
Right? So the experience of being African in body and maybe American in mind and tongue, right? And that kind of back and forth that you have, really difficult.
No, like it's funny because growing up in Lexington, my cousins and
From South Africa to Lexington, by the way. Okay. But it's real, though, yeah.
But like all of my cousins and my grandmother and my mom and her sisters, all of that family is from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
But from very Black sections of Cincinnati, Ohio. And so playing jacks and double dutch and dancing how they thought I should dance and all the things, I didn't feel Black enough in those spaces, especially. My mom always had us living in certain areas, even in Lexington. And if we didn't live in the best school, we would get bussed in to a different school district. So then you were always trying to balance. And one of the things I said was that I didn't feel Black enough in certain spaces, but was too Black to be accepted in other spaces. And it's just this weird, and even my father being Nigerian, I never felt African enough for him or his people, right? Like I never felt that either. So I understand. I didn't have a good sense to practice any of what you're talking about.
Right.
I should have been. I should have been practicing.
One, two. That. You don't need.
I'd wait till I get there and hope they would teach me, but instead my cousins would just laugh at me. I was the uncoordinated one. I was all the things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say one of the commonalities between a lot of the successful, by whatever standards, African Americans that I talk to is, they used to tell me I used to talk white. And like I hear that so consistently that I'm just starting to think that there was some component of it that allowed that individual to move up within the economic whatever within America. And there's just this common element.
Code switching.
Yes. The ability, it's a skill. The ability to code switch is.
Or to your point, just a different tongue based on what you've heard, and we talk based on what we hear, right? Like how we speak is based on something else we've heard, and all we're doing is repeating. Like it doesn't always have to be done with effort, but then when we go into our spaces, we want to sound like our people in our spaces. And so that was probably the more authentic switch.
Or just having a mother who shoved good diction down your throat.
Right.
So like just do
Enunciation.
Like I don't. Thank you, because like you don't hear that anymore. Enunciate, like it was a requirement. And like just the, a lot of times it's just like it felt like performing being enough. It always felt like I'm trying to be enough. I'm trying to be enough for white people. I'm trying to be enough for Black people. I'm trying to be accepted within my family. And going back to art, like I found safety in art, right? I found my own language, if you will, in being a creative. And so in the same way, I'm all over the place as an adult. I was all over the place as a young child, right? So I sang in choir. I played violin. I did theater. Like I did all of these many things because within art, like I could be my authentic self, my whole self. Yeah.
What, so one of the things that I often like to think about is how a SOA can come to you with an idea or hey, we would sure like, and you'll work it out. You're like, I sure will figure this out. But the boldness or the fearlessness rather, in your ability to render with different materials, that's not often seen in artists. Like, sometimes we're scared. Where does the fearlessness come from?
Jerome.
That's your dad?
That's my dad.
Really? Okay, so he the fear capability. He's like, I figured it out. Is he that was like was
You know
okay.
what? My father was highly skilled.
Okay.
So, old school daddies could do anything. Old school daddies could do anything, and they was afraid of nothing.
Yeah. Let me roll up them sleeves.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My father cooked, he cleaned, he was the mechanic, he was the maintenance man. Like he really, my mother really didn't have to do a lot within the household because my dad did all of it. Meaning my father was the oldest of 10 children, right?
Okay.
And by and large, their dad, right? And so growing up with someone who was also multifaceted in their skill set, and then also just super unafraid. So you had a hood Black daddy from Atlanta in these all white spaces.
Wow.
Like my father's hood. And but within that space, like he was very fearless. He was very fearless. He took no mess off of anybody. Let somebody mess with one of his kids. My father was very fearless and very bold man. Yeah.
I want to cheers to the fearlessness and the boldness.
Fearlessness
of
and
Shanequa Gay.
boldness.
No.
We appreciate that. I know we got water, but we cheers over here.
Y'all
okay?
cheers up for it.
Yes,
Y'all will do my lemon water.
Yes.
Y'all will do my lemon water.
No,
Thank
we
you.
are so excited about where you hit. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanequa.